Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this August edition of CGRC Research Workshop. It's my pleasure to welcome you all. And also, we wish a happy Independence Day to our Indian professors and friends who have joined us from India. We are celebrating your Independence Day with you as well. For our colleagues and faculty members who have joined us from Nigeria, West Africa, we're happy to have you, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this August edition of CGRC Research Workshop. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kosi Emmanuel Chukwujindu. I'm a lecturer at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Department of Architecture, Oka, Anambra State, Nigeria. And I'm also a research scholar at SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai, India. I'm going to be the co-host of this event, and it's a pleasure to introduce to you the theme of this month's workshop, which is bridging the research gap between Africa and the rest of the world. So we have come up with this idea and concept of monthly workshops like this. There's going to be interactive session between professors and researchers from Africa and the rest of the world. So the idea is that research is a global thing, and everyone who is involved in research benefits from a global community. So we hope that at the end of today's interactive session, our faculty members from Africa who have joined us will be more enlightened and disposed in terms of methodology, choice of research, interest, and also future after the research. Without wasting much time, I want to introduce to us the members who are going to be speaking today. We have with us Dr. Bonds Obiadi, who is the head of Department of Architecture, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Oka, who has asked us to please excuse him for half an hour. He will be joining us after half an hour. We also have with us Dr. Gita Mam. We have with us Dr. Niha Bansal. We have with us Dr. Sankar Muti. We have with us Dr. Ezenaya Ikenna. And Mr. Rahul has asked us to allow him to join after half an hour also. And my humble self, who is the convener. So this is the program for today's event. We're going to be having opening remarks by myself, after which we're going to be taking the lectures from the experts. And then after that, there's going to be a discussion session where more like a question and answer session, so that there will be an interaction. Remember, the main aim of this workshop is interactive. So then after that, we're also going to have a concluding speech by myself, and we're going to take a group session photo, and we'll call it a day. So may I please call on Dr. Gita Ma'am to comment her presentation.
So I'll begin, Kosi, now.
Ma'am, I would love to skip Dr. Bonds Obiadi because he has asked us to allow him to join after 30 minutes.
Okay, I'll start with my presentation then. Am I allowed to screen share? You have to give me the right.
Yes, ma'am. But before that, can I take 1 minute to run the introduction so that...
Yeah, fine.
Yes, ma'am. So, Dr. Gita Ma'am was born in 1972 and was awarded BArch in 1995 and MArch specialized in digital architecture in the year 2004 from the School of Architecture and Planning, Anna University. Her quest for learning has never ceased, which made her to complete her research titled Daylighting Related Studies with the Application to Fractal Glazing in 2021 under the guidance of retired IIT professor Dr. Ramachandra, visiting faculty, School of Architecture, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Katankulato. She has a total experience of 25 years with 8 years of professional experience and 17 years of teaching experience. She is currently working as a professor in the School of Architecture, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Katankulato, Tamil Nadu, India. She has presented papers in various national and international conferences, to name a few: CACU EE 2017 International Conference on Architecture, Civil, Urban and Environmental Engineering, organized by the World Academy of Science, Engineering and Technology, held on 18th and 19th May 2017 at Paris, France. Secondly, she has also participated in Meta Green Dimensions International Convention on Performance of Built Environment, organized by the College of Architecture, Trivandrum, on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of February 2018. Also, she has participated in the FDP 2021 Architectural Design Exploration and Experimentation in Design Process organized by SRM IST on 17 September 2021. Dr. Geeta Ma'am has organized various workshops, symposiums, development programs for both students and faculty. She has also traveled all over India, including Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and few places around, including Singapore, Malaysia, Dubai, France, Italy, Spain, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Germany. As an architect, traveling to explore architecture has given her an insight into the lifestyles of various people, giving her a sense of direction to thoughts on how to vary the present design for a future one in order to improve her teaching skills and to mold the young budding architecture students. May I take the pleasure to please invite Ma'am Dr. Geeta to the floor for her presentation.
Thank you, Kosi, for that wonderful introduction of yours. And even before I start my presentation, I would like to thank Cadright Global Research Cell for having given this opportunity to be in front of you. And I'm not going to come up with an elaborate PowerPoint presentation and bore you throughout the session, because it's going to be more like an interactive. Is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am, very visible, ma'am.
Okay. And the audience, as of now, though it is very limited, I think all of them are research scholars, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So which means they are into research already. Yes, and I think the topic which was assigned to me is on career opportunities. And I'm sure when you registered for PhD, you would have had something in mind, like why are we doing this? And what is, after completion of PhD, what is the positive aspect in terms of career building, right? Yes, and I think Kosi made a right choice of inviting me for this presentation, because I'm a fresher with reference to PhD degree, in the sense I just completed last year. So with this, within this period of 1 year, that has made a tremendous change, which I'm able to feel, and I'm experiencing it, and I would like to share it with you as well. And before which, when it comes to, I'll finish up the presentation, and in between I'll be sharing my experiences so that it's interesting as well. And you'll be clear with what best you will achieve after completion of research. Now, with reference to career opportunities, can, even if you're not coming on video, can you tell us, the audience, what is it? Because most of you know, tons of information are available in net.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is that you want to do research? Yeah, why is that you have registered for PhD? You must be knowing this topic very well, even before me presenting it. You have something in mind, right? What is that?
Okay, good morning, ma'am.
Hi.
Good afternoon, Ebuka.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just, I'm about concluding my MSc presently. So in the nearest future, I believe I should be going further for it, because it's something I like doing, research.
Yeah, that's nice.
And I believe it can, wherever I go, whichever place I go, I believe what I've garnered from what I will get could be beneficial wherever I go. Okay. Thank you.
So will you be taking up teaching, or what do you intend to do after your PhD?
Is that for me?
Ma'am, he has yet to complete his master's
degree, and then he will decide. Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. In general, when we talk about career opportunities, after completing research, right, we either go to industry, okay, go to work, or to teaching. So we will look into what possible opportunities are there, and what is the difference with PhD and without PhD, right? Now, once I finished, okay, anybody finishes the research component, the PhD degree, you are allowed to take up postdoctoral fellowships, postdoctorate, right? Now, what is the intention of doing a postdoctorate is that, now say, for example, I do a research, I have come up with something, right? That's my research, I've completed it. And whatever I have done is mostly theoretical, or what do I say? Maybe I come up with simulations or whatever to justify what are my findings, and I give a result and then analyze, discuss the result, and my PhD is done. But the moment you take up a postdoctorate, right, you are allowed to work with a foreign, with an institution in your country or abroad with reference to your research, and that does not require any defense or anything. So whatever you have acquired through your research, that you are allowed to practice, implement practically, and you gain that exposure, and whatever you have done theoretically or whatever be it, you get a chance to work in an institution. That is one of the most important things with reference to postdoctorate. Now, say for example, in my case, I'm an architect, so I've done my research on daylighting, and that part of it I had clubbed along with fractal geometry. I'm not sure how many of you know, it's a concept, right? When this is the first time that nobody has explored with reference to daylighting, and I made the initiative and I've done my research. Now, what happened was, when I had to do the validation part of it, because of the time constraints which we have with reference to completion of PhD, I did not have time. That was one thing to validate. In real time, when I mean validate, I couldn't come up with a real scale model and actually find out how it is going to behave in terms of optimizing daylighting. That could be because of the appropriate software is not available, or it could be due to the reason of lack of funds. So many criteria will be there with reference to your research as well, as a result of which whatever you wanted to do as part of your research would have been incomplete. All that is possible once you take postdoctorate. So that is one direction which you can take after completion of research. Next, I can enter into teaching. Now, I'm sorry, please excuse, because whatever I am sharing, that will be mostly with reference to architecture. I don't know how you can understand that. Now, say for example, 20 years before, okay, in the field of architecture, you can actually count the number of PhD holders. Very few. Okay, so those before 20 years, as Kosi had mentioned, I have an experience of 25 years. 8 years I was in industry. Okay, and then I took up PG because I decided I wanted to go into teaching. I felt without PG it's not nice to get into teaching, but though 20 years before, UG was sufficient for somebody to enter into teaching line with reference to architecture. But I did it on my interest, that I always felt when I increase or do higher levels of degree, that helps me in building my confidence level. And that was very much required when you get into teaching. So similarly, if you do your research, the knowledge which you possess is very much required for you to be a successful teacher. Though most of the institutions today demand that you need a PhD degree, right? I do not know how the rules are in Africa, but in India, now it is slowly becoming mandatory for somebody to enter into teaching line. The minimum qualification is going to be PhD. So which means without that, I will not be able to enter into teaching, right? So this is another direction in which you can actually go. Now, say for example, what is the difference? As after me doing a PhD, and even before I was a teacher with an experience of 17 years. Now, I find a lot of difference after finishing, when I was doing PhD only, I realized that, because whatever be the field of interest which I have, the moment I decide to do PhD, I keep researching every day in and out. Not only with reference to my field, but all allied fields, which just opened up my mind to look at things from a different perspective. And this has helped me a lot to be a good teacher. And I understand the standard of teaching, the methodology which I am applying now, the process which is being there has totally gone to a higher level, which was not earlier. So I feel that this PhD is, whether it is mandatory or not, if you are going to go as a teacher, it is very much required, and that helps you a lot to become a good teacher, right? Then you can also work as a research associate. Now, what do we mean by research associate is you will actually take a shift from academic research to corporate research, where you will be joining a company, or you'll be working with other researchers, and you have an option to work again like this. Whatever experience you have gained, you will be applying to analyze, or with reference to your product. If you are engineers or other professionals where you decide to come up with a new product, all that is possible. Then government jobs. I do not know how the government jobs are taken in Africa. Here again, earlier the craze was much more with reference to government jobs, because people who really love their country and you want to do some service with your, from your end, right? You can take up government jobs. There are so many openings which focuses on research with reference to your area. You can appropriately apply and get into government jobs. At this juncture, I would also like to say, after getting this doctorate before my name, right? It has made a lot of difference, because I don't directly come in contact with any of the government officials. But in India, after completion of graduation, people write competitive exams to enter into government jobs. Now they have identified me, right? Even before, I was setting question papers for all these competitive exams. But after gaining this doctorate degree, I have been not only assigned question papers, I have been given opportunities to revise the syllabus for competitive exams, and that's not easy. So unless and until you have this doctorate degree, all such openings are not possible. I have been assigned responsibilities to review the challenges raised by students who have appeared in the competitive exams. We have one such board called Tamil Nadu Public Service Commission. So I have been appointed as a person who is in charge of revising the syllabus for such exams. And whenever students face some problem in the exam, they will challenge the questions, for which I have been reviewer. Within 1 year, all this has happened. And one more thing, if you have intentions of taking up any funded project, apply for funded project, right? All of you must be youngsters. There is an age limit again. And apart from that, unless and until you have this doctorate degree, you are not eligible to apply for any of these options which are available, right? So government jobs, again, the recognition from government side also, though I'm working in a private institution, government colleges have identified and they are giving responsibilities, and that has been possible because of this doctorate degree. Next, and in architecture especially, after completion of undergraduation itself, I can take up practice. Architects can practice here in India. Once we register with the Council of Architecture, we are free to practice. So 20 years back, I completed in 95 at the undergraduation, 27 years back. So people, those who wanted to shift to industry, wanted to become an entrepreneur, right? They immediately, after completion of graduation, went directly there. Even I went into industry and I was working for somebody, and then took freelance projects, and I was in industry for 8 years. There, at that time, okay, PhD, PG was not required for you to practice. PhD was not required. Slowly, the scenario changed. Because people started feeling, once, even if you want to practice or you want to set up your own business, that knowledge, whatever you have possessed with reference to UG, was not sufficient. So what they did in architecture was they started taking up PG degrees with some specialization. So if I take landscape, I'm called as landscape architect. So immediately all the landscape projects came to us, but people fail to realize that landscape architects also can build buildings, without the use of landscape. But specialization gave an identity with reference to whatever you had chosen. When PG can decide that, in which area you're going to be focused or specialized, the moment you do a PhD, that becomes all the more apt. and you will be chosen, right, for high-end jobs, high-profile jobs, high corporate companies and popular big-scale industries come to you the moment you have this doctorate degree. And one of my one to whom I've approached long time back with reference to my research, he had done research with reference to lighting, and today he is working as a consultant. He is a consultant. So the moment the perspective has changed. Earlier, it was like only if you have to enter into teaching, PG is required, PhD is required. But now it is not so. The more knowledge you gain, the more successful you are going to be. And this PhD, right? How many years of hard work you would have put to understand that subject gives you a wonderful opportunity to become a consultant. One of my friend who has done research in acoustics, today she's become an acoustic consultant, and in practice, it helps a lot. Now, clients are very clear. The more you have this doctorate degree, then it is like, you are at this level and people directly come to you and you are successful not only in teaching, in practice, whether it's going to be own or a private concern or a government job, you are going to set up your own firm, or you're going to work as a consultant, whatever be it. This doctor in front of your name makes a lot of difference. And there are openings in digital media as well. When all of us are very familiar with this, all the time we are in the social media, mobiles, and all these are very familiar. So I thought I'll put this so that we understand better, because once we do research and complete it, right, our skills in terms of exploring the data, analyzing the data, writing the data, skillfully presenting the methodology, the process, our level goes higher. We become more capable, and all these aspects, we become smart in terms of report writing and all that. So all these skills are very much required when you want to be placed in any one of these digital medias, and that helps a lot. I'm telling you. And if you are doing a research in terms of coming up with a new product, you are the most suitable person to become a product manager. Now, for me, I can even say you can also become a good project manager as well, because within the time schedule, we do multiple tasking. So we are capable of becoming project managers as well. But with reference to research, if your end product is to come up with a new innovative product, you are an ideal person, because the competencies required for a product manager involves domain expertise, business expertise, operational ability, leadership skills. All these are mandatory. And the moment all these skills are again integrated with research component, the research degree you have, then you will be mastering the profession. Now, so these are some of the various career opportunities which you have after completing your research. And to share my experiences with you, within this 1 year, I have been appointed as an Indian examiner, national examiner, to review a scholar's thesis, and that person is from SPA Vijayawada. So I've been appointed as Indian examiner. Though I am not taken up guideship because of certain knobs which needs to be fulfilled as per the All India Council of Technical Education, I have 1 more year to take up guideship. Even before I take up my guideship, I have been identified to be the Indian examiner. And that again depends on which area you're doing and how smartly you're projecting it. And that will fetch you this identity. That was one thing. And another couple of months' time, I'll be presenting a paper in Switzerland, an international expo, which is on the advanced building skins. And that is likely to be held on 20th and 21st October. And my paper has been selected for that. So that is the advantage you have once you complete, because the confidence level just booms up like anything because of the knowledge which we have possessed. And apart from that, Okay. I have few points to discuss because most of you are doing your research or you intend to do research. This is with reference to career opportunities, whatever I was telling you until now. Some of the questions which are generally asked with reference to your research, please, all attendees, be clear with this. Your area of interest, you will identify that very easily. But to come up with the process, approach, right, and experiment what you intend to do, how you intend to do, is not an easy task. It's going to be really difficult. And this is where you have to focus. What is going to be your approach and what is going to be new? Unless and until you have this innovative component as part of your research, you will not be that successful. So any research should have this innovative component. And anybody would ask you, the next question they would ask you is, what is your secret weapon? Now, what do we mean by the secret weapon is, I have something in me which the others are not aware of, but this something in me, the secret weapon, will help me achieving my target. That identification, which you have to question yourself, where you are strong and which is going to be the secret weapon for you to succeed, that you have to identify. And of course, what would be the success or completion rate criteria? You have to explore on this as well. And one most important thing with reference to your research, whatever topic you are choosing, whatever you are working, you have to ask this question even before the others ask yourself, and whether your research can contribute to the change of the state of the art. I hope you know what is state of the art for state of the art, right? The most recent development in terms of product, or it could be technique or scientific research or whatever be it, the most recent development, and how your research is going to contribute for that, right? How your research is going to contribute for the society will add a greater weightage with reference to your research. And these are the areas where we go wrong, or where we have to definitely avoid, right? When you are deciding on your topic, on your project, you have to see the other new projects that are coming up with, whether they have better approaches and opportunities. You should always keep researching on that as well. And you should also check whether others have published similar or better results, which is same as that of yours. That part of it you have to check. And you have to avoid totally isolated project. What do I mean by isolated project is that if you are going to come up with something very, very new, which people have not done at all, completely new. I'm not saying a no to it. I'm not stopping you. The thing is, you may find it difficult to come up with a guide itself. Even guide, you may not even get a guide. You may not have the appropriate facilities. And this part of it I have faced on my own, because this was the first time the fractal geometry concept was applied to daylighting. And I came into this third category, because of which maybe my research project got extended to 6 years. I couldn't complete within the stipulated time. But in spite of that, if you are smart enough to complete it, it would be a grand success. But you have to have the moral support. The guide, Dr. Ramachandra, I would like to mention, retired IIT professor, he was with me, supporting. You do it, Geeta, we will manage, you do it. And that was the support he had given me, without which this would not have been possible. And one more thing, you have to be very clear when you take up research. When do you have to stop? And here again, I failed a little, because my guy used to keep pushing me. What happened was, when I drew all possible combinations, work out the experiments, suddenly another idea would trigger, and I will be taking another direction. All possible directions I used to take, as a result of which it got extended. So you should know within the stipulated time, because institutions are very clear that you have to finish within this time. The scenario was different 20 years before, because people were doing research for 10 years, 12 years, nobody questioned, because very few PhDs. So you can keep doing. But now in this competitive world, and in the due to the advancement in science and technology, your project may become outdated also by the time you complete. So you have to stick on to the time. And this is the lesson which I would advise all the scholars here. You should always do your thesis as early as possible. The facilities you have, the exposure you have, competitive world, You have to prove yourself. And this is my advice, and I take leave. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you very much,
much.
ma'am, for that wonderful presentation. It's a pleasure to listen to you, and I hope that everyone who listened learned something from your presentation. May I give some opportunity for question and answer so that it will be interactive as we proceed. So participants, anyone, if you have taken notes or if you have any areas where you would like to engage ma'am in a discussion, you have 5 minutes to do that now. Otherwise, we can move on. Architect Okoye.
It was self-explanatory. It was a clear presentation, direct to the point. No questions at all.
Okay. What about you, Architect Uzo? I see you turned on your video, so you must have a question for ma'am.
Anyway, my question is
Uzo, your audio is not coming through, Uzo.
You can type in the chat box also.
Yeah. You can drop your questions in the chat box so that we proceed.
okay. I'll drop it.
Okay,
I'll
your
text
audio
it
is
then, no
fine now.
problem.
You can speak now. Your audio is fine.
Okay, I was just going to ask based on steps, okay?
Okay.
I'm kind of still foggy on the steps to research. So
Okay.
if she can, Madam can touch a part of it or brush through it a bit.
Okay.
Can Kosi help me with the question? I'm not able to catch up his accent actually.
Yes, ma'am. He has asked regarding the steps to research. He's still a little foggy on what steps and all he will have to take before he completes his PhD.
Steps in the sense the process, the methodology?
Yeah, process. Yes, ma'am. Methodology.
Okay. This is still Uzo, is it?
Yeah, regarding his research, he's yet unsure about the process it's going to take him. Yeah, he's unsure about that.
Uzo, nobody will be sure about the process when you're doing the research. It comes as you go through the process every day, right? This is not like a PG degree where you have a framed syllabus and this is the content, you do this, you complete it. The research is not like that, right? To begin with, whatever you feel is right, you come up with the process. You identify the steps, right? You identify the steps and you start the research. And whatever approach or whatever methodology you have come up with, right, indicating the process, need not be rigid. As you are probing further into the research, you can always modify, because the ideas you can never say, just because I'm applying for PhD, I'm registering for PhD, doesn't mean I'm clear with everything. I know what the end product is going to be, nothing of that sort. I will not know anything. Only thing I will do, maybe I'll know the theoretical component, maybe I'll have a rough idea, and I will not know how to proceed also. But I promise you, I tell you, the moment you put in your heart and soul, dedicatedly work on research, you will not know exactly at what point of time that idea would trigger, what exactly you want to do. That clarity will come as you are into research. And once you get that clarity, that idea, right, that ice-breaking thing, once you get that, then you will know what is required to do this. You will list down, you will go back and then redo the homework, redo the process, and then work accordingly. You get that, right? So there's no defined thing. Maybe, of course, the research methodology subject will tell you this is what this is. All that is fixed process. Anybody can take up that. But the approach, the process with reference to yours depends on your independent thinking. And that part of it will develop and you keep working on it. Then you will know whether this is the process which I want to do. Why not I try this? Why not I do something here, modify, and then go along with that. Clear? So as you are proceeding, you will get definitely ideas. and those ideas, how to achieve it, you will be implementing in the process to get that. Okay?
Yes.
Hope I
Thank you
answered
very
you.
much.
I think
Yeah.
a follow-up question would be,
Okay.
when you identify the process, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
When you identify the process you intend to follow to achieve the goal you want to achieve in your research, what if the path you chose conflicts with the path your supervisor wants you to follow? How do you convince him to see your path and agree to your path to getting the result in the research?
Kosi, is he saying that, is he asking me that whether the path taken by the scholar and the guider?
Yes, ma'am.
Kosi, you should be also answering this question. You are in that.
Yes,
ma'am.
Yes,
he
ma'am.
has that conflict at times, what guides are suggesting and what he's following.
No.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think Gita ma'am can answer better
Yeah.
than you, of course.
Yes, ma'am. Actually,
Now,
architect.
yeah. Kosi, answer.
No, I'm not trying to answer. I'm just trying to elaborate on what he asked so that you can answer, ma'am. He has asked that regarding his ideologies about the process, the procedure for his work, maybe in some way is different from what his professor or supervisor's idea is. So he is asking, how can he unify his ideas with the professor's own in order to move forward?
Yeah. I would like to tell my experience only with reference to this. Because my postgraduate degree was on digital architecture, right?
Right.
So I wanted to do something on digital. But I did not have an option. Daylighting was given. I landed up in daylighting rather than getting to the story. I landed up in daylighting. And my guide was an expert in acoustics. And of course, he was very strong in building physics, right? Building science. So daylighting, he could help me. But when I wanted daylighting, n number of researches have been made. So I wanted to club daylighting along with digital architecture, for which I chose fractal glazing. You will not believe. Right from day one, I had people around totally contradicting and saying that was not possible. That is not possible. How can you club two different areas together? How could you integrate it? That's not possible. But I kept saying, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it a try. I am going to do this. But why I could say that is because though nobody had applied fractals to daylighting, I was confident because I studied a small part of theory when I did my PG, after which I had taught that subject for my postgraduate students, for which I had done the research part of it much earlier. So I was very strong in the theory part of it. I was confident. In the theory. I had the guts to face it. So every time, even after when during the DC meet, the externals from Indian Institute of Technology, they were telling me like, this is the first time you're going to make an attempt. Are you cleared? Will you be able to do it? And in my case, my guide was not very clear about this second component. But he encouraged me. He never put a stop to me. But in your case, you're talking about the conflict between the student and guide. You have to convince your guide by not orally arguing or saying, right? You have to have some data documented to say that this is going to work out, right? The same process you will not be following. You will make a modification, and if your guide is not accepting, guide has to tell you what are the pros and cons of you taking this, and then you will have to defend whatever you have in mind. But all this just orally talking will not help without substantiate data to support your end. If you are confident that your process is right, show examples which are something similar to that. Quote examples and tell him how it's going to work out. You make an effort. You proceed with the path, not completing the entire process. This is how you intend to do it. Show your work. Gain the confidence. Convince your supervisor. I hope any supervisor for that matter, right, should give you a chance, a limited time. And if you are able to proceed in that direction, then you can convince your supervisor.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that response.
Thank you.
Now,
And stop screen sharing.
Yes, ma'am. Please, ma'am. Thank you very much. So now we're going to hear from the next speaker, who will be discussing with us on the research and publication, how to find your topic. And this is in the presence of Dr. Neha Bansal. I'm going to take 1 minute to enlighten the participants regarding the profile of Dr. Neha Bansal, and before she takes the floor.
Thank you, Kosi, for inviting me. And yeah,
yes,
you can keep it short. I mean, that is not significant. That's significant here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, is my screen audible, please? Visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Professor Dr. Neha Bansal is an academician and professional with over 16 years of experience in academics and professional work. She has won the Best Faculty Award in 2016 for North Zone 2016. She has also been awarded Women Excellence Award 2021 for exemplary contribution in the area of architecture and interior design by the International Leadership Development Council. Presently associated with departmental and research activities, she is guiding 7 research scholars under different research areas. She is passionately contributing towards the betterment of academics in architecture and urban planning. Qualified as an architect with Masters in City Planning from IIT Kharagpur and PhD in Urban Disaster Management from the IIT Roorkee, she is passionately dedicated towards research and publication, with over 36 publications in various international and national journals and conferences. In 2012, Dr. Neha ma'am has presented paper on compact development as land use planning tool, and she also served as NATA evaluator, as NATA center in charge and NATA observer during different times at all India level, appointed by Council of Architecture and NIASA, looking into her commendable work as academician. In recognition of her academic excellence, she is presently Board of Studies member in SRM Institute of Science and Technology since September 2020, and she has been a member of Ad Hoc Board Education in Gujarat Technical University for over 2 years, between 2016 and 2018. Dr. Neha ma'am has also served the KOTA Technical University as identified examiner and evaluator on panel for over 5 years. She has also been associated as resource person in COA related activities with GIDM Gujarat, etc. As a remarkable achievement, she has been on the panel of reviewers as peer reviewer for reviewing papers in international journals as well as national journals. Besides her illustrious academic career, she has been associated as Director of Strategies between the years of 2013 to 2018 with Rapid Response Units. With all due honor, I have the pleasure to invite Dr. Neha Bansal to make her presentation. Ma'am, you have the floor.
Thank you, Kosi, and CGRC Research for inviting me to put my views on research and some aspects of research, and I'm very thankful to all. First of all, I express my happiness and gratitude for celebrating 75th Independence Day of my country, and I heartily welcome you all to my country as well, as and when you get time. And I would be focusing with a wonderful, introduction by Geeta ma'am on the career opportunities with PhD as your backup. I am sure you are excited enough to be taking up the course now. So when you take up the course of PhD, what is exactly you want to do is what we all are confused. Some of us, of course, have some a brief of what we want to do, but most of us are confused. So without going into all those details, let's focus on the presentation. Yes, so I'll be basically orienting you on how to select your topic, and trust me, it was very difficult to compose these slides because there's a lot of processes which are overlapping. All right, so we can go back and forth to look into what we want to do. So I assume once you have decided to take a PhD program, you must be having some target in your mind as to what you want to do ahead with that particular PhD. Based on your interest, you probably take the PhD domain. For example, I'll give you my example. I wanted to work in the field of disaster management. So I took my PhD topic on disaster management. When I wanted to start my topic, I did not know anything. But then, yes, I had that focus that since disaster management has a lot of opportunities and scope to work at national and international level, probably I would be looking forward to, expertising in that area. So, first of all, the most important thing is what areas or specializations you look forward to when you are. I'm sorry, I'll just put it on. Yeah, since I am an architect and architecture, city planning, regional planning, disaster management, all are directly or indirectly related to architecture. So I'm more aware of these domains. But then there are other domains, whichever areas you want to work with can, have a broader domain and a subdomain. So in architecture, I hope most of the participants are researchers, but can you just brief me, Kosi, what are the research areas or which are the fields? Are they all into architecture?
Most are from architecture department, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm sure then you will understand the language of this presentation. So if you want to take architecture again, when we talk about architecture, architecture is the base from which we further go on and progress in our degree. From architecture, we have urban design or scale up. From urban design, we have urban planning, and urban planning to city planning and regional planning and the global issues which can be addressed in your research. Now, when you want to do architectural research, since architecture is more, talking about building and it is a professional course, at the scale of architecture, we are generally dealing with town planning or campus planning or urban design and urban planning. Whereas when we go a little bit a scale up, since I have done my master's in city planning, so I'm much oriented towards a scale up of the architecture, which is city planning and regional planning, where we have aspects like housing, infrastructure, city development plans, regional plans or sub-regional plans. So what happens is, since I'm aware in my master's, I have been made aware of various possibilities where I can contribute as an architect or as a planner. I was much interested, and I know probably we know the gravity of problems. We all are staying in houses, we all face problems with our roads, with our cities, and we know there are a lot of issues. But then as a common man and as a professional, there's a lot of difference. We know the technicalities when we are, a little oriented towards these domains, and we can take these areas as research with certain outcomes in our mind. For example, I'll tell you, when I took city planning, masters in city planning, after that, I got placed in National Capital Region Planning Board, which was dealing with the regional plans. So whatever I studied, I had that in my mind that I want to work on city plans or at city level. So I was searching for the opportunities. Unfortunately, I got a placement from my institute into the city planning, preparation of city plans. So that is how, you should focus on deciding as to what you want to do broadly. We all don't know the end results clearly, but then we have to start somewhere, right? Then moving on to the higher scale, there are issues like disaster management or various global issues. Since I did in disaster management, so I've listed few topics with respect to that. That is urban disaster management or multi-hazard risk assessment. Our cities are facing a lot of issues with respect to multiple hazards. If you see the case of Haiti earthquake, Haiti did not have earthquake itself, but there was a lot of damage to houses. So what happens is, if you will focus your research on resilient infrastructure or housing, then probably you have some possibility of involving yourself into these areas, and your PhD will have some outcome and will benefit you. Is something which with which we start. We all start with something basic. So this is how you choose your domain. It is very important to choose your domain and then search it out to find the exact direction which you want to do, right? So now the key aspects in selecting a dissertation or PhD, since we all know PhD is a part of academic or it's a degree program. So first of all, the most important thing is you should know what are the academic requirements, whether you will be able to go ahead with the academic requirement of that particular organization or maybe some other organization, how you're going to take up your research. Sometimes people take up PhD either as a full-time PhD like Kosi has taken, or people can go with, through projects, like they're working in their offices, and whatever projects they are doing in their offices, those projects can be put up as a research, and that kind of research is also there. Or you can go as a part-time research where both the domains are separate, but then you're giving time to both the area. So first of all, the most important thing when you are doing PhD is your academic requirements, what it is, what the basics in dissertation or PhD, as I told you, selection of your topic, about the project, as to what exactly could be your outcome, or broadly could be your outcome. We need to do a little bit of background research as to what are you going to come out of it. See, we cannot reinvent the wheel. PhD is not that. PhD is something which you are researching and coming up with something which was not there. So what could be that thing, and how you can basically use your efforts for 5 years or 6 years into paying you off, is something which we do as a background research. 1 minute. My screen, everything is hidden. And the do's and don'ts of writing dissertation report, building typologies and do's and don'ts, these are, when you enter into your PhD dissertation, what we do is, even not only in PhD, but whenever you take up a course, you see what are the contents of the course, what are the subjects, what are the deliverables, how and when, how many credits you can get, how and when you would be able to clear. So basically, when you want to take up PhD also, you need to do a little background research. Then selecting the topic. When you want to select a topic, like I went into, I'll give you my example only, that is the best way. I started with, I was staying in Jaipur that time, working as associate professor in one of the colleges in India, and my daughter was very small, 2 years, and she was in Lucknow. So my target or intention at that time was either to take up a study area in Jaipur or in Lucknow, so that I could manage things as well as I can take up something significant. So looking into my context, or interest as well as my context, I was more focused on the historical buildings and disaster management. Okay, so that is how I could come up with the little crystallization of what I wanted to do. Your interest and your context is very, very important when you choose a topic. Whatever it is, even you choose up with a broader topic, like these days students start with sustainability. It's very intriguing topic. Or they say urban design. Now, urban design is a world in itself. Okay. Similarly, you need to really zoom down a little bit to start your or to select a topic. Then relevance and contribution of thesis later on. I have already told you how it will be paying you off. Or when you are doing a particular research broadly, at the end of the day, what are you going to get out of it? A broad idea we need to have. Then we need to get ideas from research paper and current knowledge base to, clarify ourselves. We really do a little background research, that if I search a certain topic on Google, then I should know what exactly, are the directions in which this particular topic is going on. And that is possible by looking into other people's work through various researchers, or for that matter, when you will Google search, say for example, urban design, there will not only be research papers, but there will be the current projects which are going on, the various policy papers which will come up. So overall, you will get an idea of the depth of your domain. Right. Then you have to identify the list of the data which is needed after a little bit of thorough research, so that, why do we need a basic idea of data? Because at the end of the day, you have to do your research, and there has to be a data to do research. So whether you will be able to go ahead with that domain, whether the data availability is possible or not, or what softwares, or maybe, you have to go door to door, collect data, all that you have to keep in mind whether it is possible or not. Sometimes what happens is students or scholars or researchers tend to touch very sensitive areas. So like they want to do some research on military areas, or they want to do some research on the religion area, where it is very difficult to get data. So you should be very clear. If you can get the data, then you can do research. And of course, you have to also focus on what is your supervisor's expertise. So this is what you should look into for selecting your topic. Then research process. research process is not very definite, but as research methodology says that you have to define your topic. That means you have to take a broader area, then you have to little bit zoom down, narrow down based on what is going on, what is it that I should be focusing, out of 10 aspects of a particular topic, what is more in demand. Then gather information is what we have discussed. Create a set of questions which you can answer through your research is what you want to do, and that is where you go back, forth and front while choosing your topic. If you're not able to answer your questions, then you really need to modify your topic. Then develop a working thesis statement, as to how are you going to work, a little brief framework. When we plan to go on an excursion also, we plan a brief. We don't know when we go to new places that how and what problems would come, but then we have a brief plan as to how we'll be completing our journey. It is something like that. And then you have to evaluate the sources from where you can collect information, background information, as well as the working information. Cite the sources and write the paper or your research. This is the end part, which will come way later. Okay, so the first thing that you should keep in mind when you're selecting a topic is you need to find a problem, and then you need to give a solution. And in between lies everything. Okay, so when you're finding a problem, I'll tell you one thing from my experience. This is a cheat code which you can say, where there is a problem, solution is always there only. Suppose if I want to touch upon, like Kosi is touching upon daylight factor, you go to people, you talk to their problems, and they'll suggest you some solutions. So you get a little background of how and which direction you should go ahead. So this is everything lies between problem finding and solution, which needs to series of research work, analysis, and appropriate reasoning, evaluation and re-evaluation, and then coming up with experiments and models to give certain framework, or to give certain models, or to give some policy guidelines. Sometimes you come up with result, and based on those results you can suggest that you should make a policy in this direction to benefit people, to control the disaster or to control the particular growth direction, and the policy should be based on your analysis. So this is how you can really put your research into work. Again, you have various methodologies, where or how you can go ahead in your dissertation or thesis. Could be academic, education and research aim, or it could be residential type of work or areas, or you can take up infrastructure as your domain, or if you want to work in areas which have related business or retail and leisure. So these are some domains where you can work on. Dissertation on urban planning, again, if I look into the little detail aspect of it, can be zoomed down to various, because urban planning is a world in itself. So it could be environmental impact assessment. If you're an architect, you will be probably able to understand these subdomains. Then social impact assessment, which is very popular. Cost benefit analysis will definitely yield you a lot of benefit if you come up with models in this direction. Feasibility studies, appraisal and evaluation of site schemes, project formulation, all these, I think, of course you can go through it. It's a series of whole area subdomains where you can focus on, and as you research them, you'll come into more and more aspects. Development management in architectural thesis, or you can also go for plan processing or plan implementation using programming and phasing, supervision, plan enforcement, another domain or subdomain where you can contribute or you can take up your research. Yes, when I was talking about regional scale, what all are the domains which you could take up when it is architectural thesis, or when it is with respect to disaster management, you have a whole lot of bigger domain where you talk in terms of towns, where you talk in terms of urban areas, and when you talk in terms of urban areas, vulnerability, population, rescue, research, all these aspects are more prominent. So there could be areas like architectural thesis can be selected based on different risk zones or disaster zones. It might not be disaster zones, but it could be other type of risk zones. Then energy efficiency or thermal comfort parameters, which are at a bigger scale. Components of aspects of DRR may be incorporated. building codes, your research can give a route for paving the building codes of that particular country or area. Sustainability, EIA, housing level research could be taken up. Now, as I said, it's actually a mix-up of how to put up a slide. So I have put topic selection, basic steps later on, which says that there are 3 major stages to PhD research. First is choosing your topic, research domain and subdomain, then doing the literature review and finding out what is not done. Because again, as I said, we are not reinventing the wheel. We are adding to what was not there. Okay. And then conducting the research based on your research gaps. Research gap will give you a direction, and conducting research with the application of tools, techniques, models, or framework, and then doing your report writing and coming up with a framework. So this is all in nutshell what is PhD, basically into 3 or 4 steps. Now, a successful project starts with a good topic. The question again comes how to choose a topic. Some of it we have answered earlier, but again, coming back to the same slide where, your interest is most important. Other than that, PhD research topic has to have a broader domain, an effective research topic domain, and align. Then when you do more of literature review where you get gaps, it will be more aligned to your aim of the or aim to the research. I will give you the example from my research, okay, which is not very young, but then it's not very old as well. I started with disaster management. Then eventually, as I was reading the information all around me, not necessarily research paper, it was understood that urban areas or cities are having bigger problems of disasters compared to any other areas where population is less. So automatically, since my post-graduation was in city planning, it was more exciting for me to take up city planning and disaster management. So the topic changed from disaster management to urban disaster management. Now, when we were dealing with the urban areas, or when I was going through the urban areas, it was understood that urban areas, we actually do not have natural disasters all the time. It is a mix of, natural disasters or urban disasters. So the topic changed to urban disaster management, right? And from that, when I had to take up a study area, because without studying a particular area, how am I going to conduct my research? So the most nearest city which was near me, as well as from which I had data access, and the city had issues of disaster, was Dehradun city. It is located in between the foothills and the lower plains. So it has problems of landslides, it has problems of flooding, it had problems of urban fire which broke out due to high temperatures because it is somewhere in the foothills. So, and there was also problem of earthquake, of course, because it lied in the earthquake zone. So eventually we realized that most of the cities in nowadays are facing more than 1 or 2 disasters. So my broader area from urban disaster changed to multi-disaster. Right here, how I came down to a smaller domain or effective research topic. Now, when again I'm talking about multi-disaster, when I went through a lot of research, multi-disaster is a world in itself, as is urban disaster. Now we have to narrow down somewhere. Then it was understood that multi-disaster, where dealing with more than 2 disasters, had not been attempted so many times, and there are no much models available on that. So all the research paper and the studies had then helped me align my aim. The aim was to conduct the multi-hazard risk assessment for city, looking into the urban disasters, 4 urban disasters, with the aim of creating resilient city. So this is how I aligned myself from urban disaster or disaster to multi-hazard disaster with the specific aim. That is how you will also go when you are doing your research. You'll start with the broader thing, you come down to a little more narrower thing, and then the research gaps will help you identify your aim. All right. To achieve that aim, then we have the objectives. Now, when you are searching your domain, the first question which comes to every researcher, or for that matter every person, is where should you search the data? The first thing we do these days is go into the Google search, which is not wrong, but then which is not right also. Why it is not wrong? Because that is the search engine most commonly available to us. So that is where we start. But at the same time, it is not authentic as well. So to get a preliminary idea, we start with Google, and then we go to the database. there are databases, library databases, which have authentic paper or researches which have been conducted and certified by the research body. Research bodies are into various databases. So we then go into database search. Other than database search, the effective search engines, are Google Scholars or, other that DOI search. There are a lot of areas or engines through which you can search authentic search. So that is how you have to really get your basic search to authentic search, and from authentic search only you will get your research gaps. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So once you do a little bit of research gap, then you should actually come up with research questions. Like in my case, I came up with research questions. Are multi-disasters still existing? What are the reasons of multi-disasters which are existing in a city? When two disasters are happening, what is the impact on the city? Who is being affected? What is being affected? Where is my research relevant? When or what is the situation in which I can take up my research? Are these disasters years apart, or they are at any point conflicting? So depending on what research you are doing, you should answer these questions: who, what, where, when, and why. Once you have these things answered, you need to have a set of research questions based on which you will come up with a aim. Is that clear? From your data, you come up with the questions, basic questions you keep asking, and the moment you are able to answer your question, that research question paves a way to your aim. I hope I'm clear. Then coming down to the process of research, which is again a very cyclic process where you focus on your aims and objectives. Once you have your aim, your aims and your objectives. Research method that suits your research problem. That suits my research problem does not mean that what I like. But for example, I have to do multi-disaster risk assessment. I'll break down my entire aim into objectives. To achieve each objective, there will be some method which is existing. Okay. So when you are integrating a lot of methodologies and into your research, while doing that particular methodology, you might end up coming with different results where you would need certain innovation to be added, but then you cannot suddenly invent a wheel. Okay. It is always bit by bit. So you have to identify the research methods that is going to probably suit your research. Then you should have the rationale for selecting a particular research method. You have to prove that this particular methodology which you have selected has been used so far, and to start with your research, you are using this methodology. So it is always to have a rationale for your research methodology. We just cannot randomly take research methods. Okay, am I understandable to everyone?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're following, ma'am.
Yeah. Considering your audience and think how you will collect the data for the study. Yes, this is very important. In spite of all the possibilities of research methodologies and your research objectives, if your data is not available, how will you do your research? That is a very big problem. So many countries have that problem, where you are not able to collect on-site data. If you are not able to get on-site data, you have to change your research domain or subdomain. So that is a big constraint. Then analyze the different types of data collection methods available and identify data collection method that is feasible. Sometimes, it is a little tricky way of collecting data, but then that's fine. That becomes a major component. Data collection takes almost 1/4 of your entire research time. So you should be very thorough with that. And then analyzing your data sets and come up with the results. So this is the basic steps which you do once you have your research domain. How to write a PhD dissertation comes after you're done with your analysis. Now, again, you have to write the introduction where you introduce your research gaps. Okay, why are you interested in that topic? And why are you interested in that topic? Because there is a problem, no? So that is what you have to write in introduction. Then literature review will basically tell you what other peoples have done in this direction. I'm not Einstein or somebody to first time do this research, right? A lot of people have done that research. So you have to ground your research in your literature review as to what all has been done so far and where you can still do some research, where there's a scope of research. So in literature review aspect or chapter, you have to basically write your research gaps through your literature review. Then you have to tell your methodology, and after your methodology only you will be able to tell what is your findings or what have you come up with your result, or what were your results, and how do your results, actually go in alignment with other people's work. There will be a little difference, but then unless you compare your results with others' work, that doesn't make, that doesn't ground your research. That does not validate your research. Okay. Then from that, you come to conclusions, and in conclusions, along with what you have done, you conclude and you mention a chapter where you write way forward. What is the area in your research which you could not attempt, which still has the scope of being attempted? And that is how you also get your research gap. When you're reviewing the literature paper, you will see end of each literature paper, in conclusion or in discussion, there's always a paragraph which talks about way forward or what has been left. From there we get the research gaps. Okay. And then you, of course, need to have bibliography. Your rich bibliography tells how well informed you are. Okay. So again, as I said, it is a cyclic process. Your impact or your share will again generate a think and plan. That is all what I wanted to cover here. I think with this, I'll just stop here.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for the wonderful presentation. It was very enlightening and educating. I'm sure the participants are very eager to ask their questions and make their doubts cleared. So please, can we hear from the audience? Anyone with any question regarding ma'am's presentation, please ask your questions right now. Okay, in the absence of any questions, of course, there's going to be opportunity for you to discuss with the professors the work which you are doing, whatever topic you have already chosen. There will be a short moment where you'll be allowed some time to tell us about it, and in 1 minute, the professors will respond and give you some feedback that might help your work. So without wasting further time, I'm going now to introduce Sankramurthy. Dr. Sankramurthy is working as an assistant professor at the College of Management of SRM Institute of Science and Technology. Dr. Sankramurthy has his research interest in the area of marketing, equity research, and entrepreneurship. He is handling research and publication ethics subjects for the research scholars of SRM. He is the convener for Institution Innovation Council at SRM. He has published around 15 Scopus Index articles and presented papers in international conferences. He is a part of the core team at SRM Innovation, Incubation and Entrepreneurship Center. Without further ado, may I make welcome Dr. Sankramurthy to the stage to make his presentation. Dr. Sir.
Hi, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You're very audible.
I just shared my screen. So I am not basically from architecture. So I'm just going to give you only 4 tips for the researchers. Is my slide visible?
Yes, sir. It's visible, sir.
Okay, thank you so much. So these are the 4 things any researcher will get into trouble. These are troubling them. The first one is, how do I identify my problem? The second one is, how do I identify the research gap? And third one is, how to find authentic journals, research journals, where do I publish? And the fourth one is the plagiarism, of course. So when I'm writing an article, so today they usually upload in websites like Turnitin. Okay, so these are the 4 things I'm going to talk. So identifying a problem. So today, researchers, the trend, some of the researchers, they want to take some fascinating topics which are on the trend. Okay, that is fine. But what is my take on this is, since I'm guiding, I'm a part of the research team, research coordination in the MBA department. So first thing which is necessary is, are you going to help the common man? Just try to find out in identifying the topic. So you may, I do not know exactly about architecture, and what I insist is how work to add value to the common man. The second is it implementable? So there are more PhD theses are there. So in SRM alone, on an average, around 2,000 to 3,000 researchers are there. So when I sit through all the, all the thesis presentations or their final viva, I asked a question. Some of them may not be implementable. So you have to find some solution which are implementable. And the third one is you have given a solution, whether the stakeholders will be able to paying to solve that particular problem. Whether your work has some commercial value to it. Commercial in the sense not exactly with the business in mind. So it is affordable and they can implement, and that is what I am talking about it. And the final one is within what time frame your research within the given time frame, if your problem is solved. For example, 4 years is the time for a part-time student and 3 years for a full-time student. So now, within the first year, you are selecting the problem. So what happens if within 3 years, the problem itself is not existing? So this is one tricky thing always happens in MBA, probably with the part-time researchers. In this 4 years, first year they take up the topic, the problem will be existing. And within this 4 years, it may have got a different dimension. So which are the most persistent problems that can take? Now, how do I know that which is the trend, which is the technology that is there, that is upcoming technology is? One particular tool is the Gartner's Hype Cycle. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, sir. We can see it very clearly, sir.
So you can type in Gartner's Hype Cycle. Gartner Hype Cycle curve will be like this. So in the right hand side, these are the technology which is going to be they are it is old, it is getting old. These are the newer technologies that are coming. So now in this Gartner cycle, hype cycle, usually what they do is they refresh it every time they recreate it so that it keeps on adding. So this is not only for an architecture or any of the students. So you can find out whether your technology, these technologies, upcoming technologies can be included in your thesis. If you could see here, there is a new technology which is coming in as minimum viable architecture. So this is relevant to you. So these are platform engineering maybe for a IT student. So these are the things. Digital twin of a customer is for the management student. Likewise, you can see this and you can take note of it and include it in your research. And the second one is how to identify the research gap. So what happens is, already you have taken a problem, already people have found they have worked on it. So that is what you tend to tell us literature review. So they have approached the problem and they would have got the solution. So what is your take on it? So what is that gap you are going to fill? Because already someone has solved the problem, why do you take that as a problem? So these are the things will come out in the literature review. There are two things which I suggest my scholars not to touch upon. One is the most researched area. For example, world is round. It is a fact. More research has gone in. Don't take those aspects as well. And do not take, which is an extremely new area. When we have an extremely new area also, you don't find enough literature support for it. In academic research, you need to show literature support at every point of time. So this is what academic research is about. When it is an industrial research, it may be a bit different. So how do we contribute to the existing knowledge? That is what is your problem. So there are knowledge existing. So there is a gap in the knowledge. So you are going to give some idea to it and you are going to help the person. So that is what is my contribution. This is your area where you and your guide are going to work. How do I do the research gap? I'm going to show you a tool. This is known as Mendeley. So you can log on to www.mendeley.com or Google this. So let's say that it will have a search window like this. So let's say that I'm going to type in prefabricated housing. So my recent paper which I'm working on is what is the consumer intention to buy prefabricated housing, because the construction costs are getting higher. So when I'm going to type in this, I can get how many articles are there. See, 23 articles are there in 2022, 104 articles are in 21, 93 2020 articles are there. So I can click and find out how it has progressed. Of course, something you can study and read it. There are some PDF documents you can open and read, and other things you can know the abstract. So when you know about the abstract, it is easier for you to understand what is their approaches and consolidate it and take what is your own methodology for it. Very clear. So the third one is finding authentic journals. How do I find today? Today, the most common databases, Scopus indexed journals are here. So the problem is that in order to want of money, and there is a pressure on the researchers, there are some websites which are falsely creating duplicate websites, and they are getting money from the researchers, or they are fooling out the researchers by creating false websites. So one way is, how do I browse on it? Probably you might have known, just I'm adding it. So you go to the scopus.com website, it looks like this. Here there is a sources option is there. So I click on it. So here when I click the sources, I will get title and you can enter the title. Or you can select here and select subject area. So if it is architecture for you, you can select architecture and find out. So I have selected architecture and culture in that window. So it belongs to Taylor and Francis. Now here there is a source homepage is given and SNIP scores are given. So initially in the first year, you try to publish in SNIP less than 1. And when you are progressing to second, third and fourth year, you try to publish for SNIP means to source normalized impact factor more than 1. So when I click the source homepage, this is the genuine website it will lead to. So by this you can avoid some duplicate websites. And the final one is, how do I reduce plagiarism? So you are writing an article. So the moment you upload it, it tells that 80% it is plagiarized, 80% similarity is there, 60% similarity is there. So people get tempted out of it when they are writing the article. So first is you read abstracts and rephrase it. You have to write it in different words. So when you are mentioning others' work without citations, then it will show plagiarism. And the third one is, if you certain things you cannot alter. For example, someone is giving you a law or a thumb rule, which you cannot alter because it is their statement. You can use double quotes. So you can use only 10 to 12 per document. Do not use it more than that. Avoid using more images in the document, because images would read 0. And if you have more images in that, unless it is demanding, people may doubt you. And find out alternative words, because what happens is, for example, you are telling about some lighting is there. Okay, so it is a word which is used by most of the researchers around the world. So if you are able to rephrase or find an alternative word to it, then it will also reduce plagiarism. And finally, when you are using your own work if you are going to do, be careful, because your work itself will show it as a plagiarism, your own paper. So when you are going to be writing for the article and the thesis, see that it is not so much colliding among each other. And that's it for me. And how do you tell thank you in your language? Is it there?
Thank you very much, sir. We say thank you as Dalo from the southern part of Nigeria, southeastern part of Nigeria. Most of our participants are from that area. So, Dalo.
Thank you. I think I have landed up in the lunchtime in your city. Am I right? So
yes,
finally,
sir.
help others. Please help others. Nobody is very, very genius. Everybody is in the learning curve. Do not frighten someone. So everybody needs something to some help. Give help to everybody. When you give help, you will also gain some confidence. And after all, we are only learners. We can learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And I urge the other participants to please indicate if they have any questions for sir.
Okay. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead, Ebuka.
Okay. I thank you for the topic you broached on. The publication and the research publications issue is a big issue for every researcher. You mentioned medley.com. Are there other reputable links one can go to for these publications of the thing? Are there others that one can?
Yeah. Yes. It is. You can browse on that. That is one reference in Koshi used my class. I would have educated him on this mentally. When we are writing the literature review, it is helpful in creating the reference part of it. And I think Koshi, you know better, right?
Yes, sir. Very correct, sir. Actually, Ebuka, there are lots of other reference management softwares that you can use.
Yes,
I think yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, please continue.
Okay.
Telling something.
Ebuka, I was saying that Mendeley is one of the most widely used reference management softwares, but there are lots of them. I think a simple Google search will help you identify them. But personally, I use Mendeley and it's been working perfect for me so far.
So it is your job to educate everybody on this.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir. And in the absence of any other questions for sir in particular, I'm going to move on to the next presenter, who is a professor from Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Department of Architecture, in the person of Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. I'm going to share my screen so that I can read out his profile before he proceeds to speak to us. So Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe joined Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, as an assistant lecturer in the Department of Architecture in the Faculty of Environmental Sciences. Prior to coming to UNIZIK, he was a site architect with Buildline Associates, Lagos, Nigeria. Ikenna received his BSc in architecture from UNIZIK and his MSc in architecture as well in construction management between the years of 2011 and 2013, respectively, from the same university. In 2016, he went to faraway Cyprus, where he obtained a PhD in architecture in 2020 from the Eastern Mediterranean University, Famagosta. His research interests are in the fields of residential architecture and housing as a human right. Specifically, he is interested in affordable housing and housing sustainability. With all due pleasure, I make welcome Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe to make his presentation. I will be sharing his presentation actually from this side, and he will be talking to us from his end. Just 1 minute. Dr. Azikiwe, are you ready for a presentation, sir? Sir, your audio is a little bit in the background. Can you enhance it a bit? Hello, sir. Can you hear us, sir? Your audio is in the background, sir. We might have to proceed to the next speaker while you try to enhance your audio. Is it possible for you to do that very quickly, sir? Hello, sir.
Maybe he should try speaking directly. The mouth, all these earpiece used to have issues.
Yeah, can you, sir, can you take off your earpiece and try to speak directly? Sir, your audio is very much in the background. I'm going to give you some more time to try and enhance it while we go over to Mr. Rahul, who will be talking to us regarding statistical analysis, data collection, precautions to be taken while collecting data for your work, and how to process the data after it is collected. So I'm going to also go ahead and read out about Dr. Rahul, and I'll give him the floor to proceed. That's 1 minute. Yes. So, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, Susan, is a statistician with 2 years of experience in data analysis, research, and teaching. Rahul Gandhi is a statistician who had work experience of data analysis in the Directorate of Public Health and Preventive Medicine under the government of Tamil Nadu. He completed his ICSSR project titled Mapping of Information Sharing Behavior of Transgender in Chennai City, India, Social Network Analysis. The main area of research of interest to him are survival analysis, statistical modeling, and social network analysis. Mr. Rahul Gandhi is currently a statistician in the Center of Statistics at SRM Institute of Science and Technology, where he helps researchers to prepare and deploy statistical procedures for their research. With all pleasure, I invite Mr. Rahul to speak to us regarding statistical analysis as per PhD work concerned. Mr. Rahul, sir?
Is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, very visible, sir.
First of all, thank you for the sweet introduction.
Thank you.
Here it is power cut, so please adjust my background, okay?
It's okay.
Okay. The topic which I'm going to discuss with you guys today is the sample size determination and then the statistical analysis to proceed in our research. So I hope to try to cover the major topics within the given 30 minutes of time. So first of all, we all know that every scientific research have statistics in it. So without statistics, we can't make a decision. So basically, it is one of a decision-making subject which will be collaborated with each and every field of science and arts and science. So basically, the definition of statistics is, it is the collection, classification, presentation, analysis, and interpretation of numerical data. These are the 5 steps which we used to follow in our research. So when you come for collection is nothing but collection of data. So what type of data can be collected? In what are all the ways that data can be collected? These are the things which we need to look. So there are 2 types of data. One is categorical and the other one is continuous. So categorical data in the sense, maybe the gender has been classified to male and female. Whereas the continuous data, which is like age of the person, height of the students, the height of the building, the number of floors in the building, these are considered to be a continuous variable. So primarily the data can be collected in such a manner of giving a survey or collecting a sample with the help of questionnaire, or interview, or group discussion. These are the various sources where we can collect data. So there are 2 types. One is primary data and then secondary data. Primary data represents a researcher will directly collect his data for study. The secondary data are the sources, like the reports may be generated from the government websites or any other organization related to a particular domain. So if you collect the data by your own, it is considered to be a primary data. And then if you measure some other related sources, then it is considered to be a secondary data. So now, to perform a primary data collection, most of the people will opt for questionnaire. So developing a questionnaire is a big task. So to develop a questionnaire, we need to follow several rules and regulations. So that will be discussed later. So once the data has been collected, then we will be tabulate the data to see how many respondents have given their response and what are the characteristics of response, maybe their gender, their age, their educational qualification. These are the classification. So based on the given variable, we will tabulate the data. So once the tabulation procedure is over, then we will be representing the tabulated data in terms of graphs. So we will try to visualize the thing, and then till this graph, the subject will be dealing with a descriptive. That is, you will be exploring the data. So the second step is you will be using statistical analysis. You will be using statistical tool. So to fix or to choose the statistical tool, the collected data will undergo several assumptions, or it will undergo several tests. So once the researcher follows all these steps, then you will be giving a result which is in proper manner, without manipulation, without some damaging the nature of data. You will be giving your original results what you obtained from your collected data. So the difficulty is choosing the proper tool and then interpreting the data. So nowadays, the non-statisticians group are the individuals who are weak in statistics will face problem in choosing a proper statistical tool and interpreting the data. So to assess this problem, you need a statistician, or you need to learn some statistical concepts to perform in your data. So this is a small introduction. So we will be dealing with this 5 point today. So first step is, as I said, the subject is classified into two types. One is descriptive statistics and inferential statistics. So before getting into this descriptive and inferential, we need to know certain parameters to understand the concepts, like what is population, what is sample, what is estimate, what is estimator, and even I can say what is the measures of central tendency and dispersion, or some other things. So first, we'll get back into a small definitions of what is population. Population is the study characteristic, the whole thing which we are going to study about. Sample is the part of population or subset of population. From population, by using several sampling strategy, you will be taking a small amount of sample from it. So by using that sample, you will be finding a result, and then we will be correlating the result generated from sample with the population. So finally, we will give a interpretation that how far the sample has justified the population level. So that's the basic thing which we use in our research. So as I said, there are two types. One is descriptive, and then the second one is inferential. Descriptive statistics is nothing, just the description of data or summarizing the data. It is the initial step, or it is the first step. Everyone have to perform this. So in descriptive statistics, we will be having three measures. One is measures of central tendency. The second one is measures of variability, and then third one is shape of the data. So what is central tendency? So as the word central tendency defines, it is a single central value, single middle value. Whereas the measures of variability is how far the value deviated. And then shape of the data defines how the data has been distributed, whether the data is normally distributed or not. So these are the things which comes under descriptive statistics. So central tendency is defined as the statistical measure that identifies a single value as a representative of an entire distribution. So it provides us the tool to get a single value which can better describe the group of data. So the examples of the types of central tendency are mean, median, mode. These mean, median, mode are a general form of average. These three are said to be an average. So first, let us consider one example. Example, the strength of the institute. Let me consider the strength of SRM institute. Just 10,000 people. So my research objective is I need to find the average height of the SRM-IST students or the average weight of SRM-IST students. Then what should I do? It is not possible for me to collect all the 10,000 students' information. So here I will be using sampling procedure to take few samples from SRM population. So let me consider my sample size as some 100. So out of 10,000, I will be collecting 100 samples. So from this 100 sample, I will be measuring their height, weight, and whatever I need. And then I will be taking an average. Let me consider if it is a continuous variable, let me take it as mean. So I will be using mean as my measure, and then I will be finding the value as the normal weight or the average weight, or the average weight of SRM will be some 80 kg. The average height will be some 160 centimeter. Now, this is a characteristic, or this is the information which we obtained from the sample. Now, I need to correlate this value with the original population height and original population weight. So let me consider original average height of SRM population is some 170 centimeter, and then the original average weight of the SRM population as 90 kg. By sampling procedure, I have found 70 and 160 centimeter, but the natural or the real population value is 80 kg and 170 centimeter. Now, the sample value is deviated from the original population, right? So it is, if it is 80 kg, my sample value is 70. So 70 is deviated from 80. So this deviation is said to be a standard deviation. So how far the value obtained from the sample is deviated from the population. So here the measure which I have used is to measure the average. I have used mean as my tool, and then to find the difference or to find the deviation between the sample and population, I used standard deviation as my statistical measure. So here the central tendency represents mean, and then for standard deviation I will be using the dispersion. So we all know that mean is a single value that represents a group of values. It is the most commonly used measure of central tendency. It generally refers to the arithmetic mean. So these are some mathematical calculations. It is not necessary for us now. So and then median. It is also another form of average. Here, when the data as the number of sample in odd term or in even term, based on the odd and even, the sample or the median formula will be changed. So based on this, we will be finding the middle value of the sample distribution or the middle value of your data. If, for example, if you are collecting some 100 samples, what is the middle value of this 100 samples? So since 100 is an even number, by using n by 2, that's the formula for even. So by using this, you will be having a 50th term, and then number which fall in 50th term is considered to be a median. And then mode is mainly used for categorical data. It will not be used to continuous data. It is used to find the most occurring number, frequently occurring number in your data set. So these are the three forms of average. And then this, as I said, this measures of central tendency is used to provide the overall picture of the series. We cannot, as I said, we cannot remember each and every facts relating to a field of inquiry. For example, if I am taking some 100 samples from SRM population, it is very difficult for me to remember all the 100 samples height or weight. So therefore, if I take average, I remember only the average. Just I can say that the average height of the students or average weight of the students has some numbers. So it provides a clear picture about the field under study for guidance and necessary conclusion. It gives a concise description of the performance of the group as a whole, and it enables us to compare two or more groups in terms of typical performance. These are the major uses of central tendency. And then measures of dispersion or measures of variability. So as I said, how far the sample value is deviated from the population. So to find this, the measures of variability functions are used, like range, interquartile range, variance, standard deviation. These are the terminologies which we will be used in measures of variability. So range is the difference between the largest and smallest number, and then quartiles are used to categorize our data into 4 quartiles, and then we will be finding the 50th, 75th value of our data. And then variance is nothing but the variations between the two, that is sample and population, and standard deviation is deviation between the sample and the population. So variability describes how far apart data points lie from each other and from the center of a distribution. So variability is also referred as spread, scatter, or dispersion. It is most commonly measured with the following, that is range, interquartile range, standard deviation, variance. So range is the difference between the highest and lowest value, and interquartile range is the range of the middle of a distribution, that is 25, 50, and 70. And standard deviation is average distance from the mean. Variance is the average of squared distance from the mean. So these are some common examples. Now, for shapes of the data, we will be having skewness and kurtosis. These two tools are used to find the type of distribution. So I have been often using the term distribution, right? So distribution is nothing but it is a subject in statistics which deals with how the data is distributed. To study the distribution of a data points, we will be having a distribution theory. So there are many number of distributions in statistics. In general, the subject statistics deals with the functions or the methods which we are using for data analysis deals with the assumption of normality. That is, your data should follow normal distribution. If not, what are the alternative things which I can do for my data? So the whole subject moves with the concepts of the normal distribution, the assumptions of normal distribution. So the term normal distribution is depending on all these mean, median, mode, variance, standard deviation, and then skewness, kurtosis. All these things will be giving a major contribution to the term the normal distribution. So this symmetric distribution is said to be a normal distribution, which in the sense the mean, median, mode will be equal. All the three property will be equal for normal distribution. If not, then you will be having either a positive distribution or negative distribution. In the sense they are not normally distributed. So the positive skewness in the sense the mean will be greater than the median, and then median will be greater than the mode. If the calculated value follows this pattern, then you will be having your distribution as a skewed distribution, that is right skewed distribution. And if your mean less than median and less than mode, then it is said to be left skewed or negative skewed distribution. So as I said, the position of mean, median, mode determines the normality of your data. So this correlation value will be discussed in later part. So these are, as I said, in terms of skewness, you will be having three types. One is no skew, and then positive, and then negative. In terms of kurtosis, you will be having leptokurtic, mesokurtic, and then platykurtic. So this determines the peak of the curve. How often the data has been repeated in data set. So based on this, you will be having the kurtosis, that is the peak of the curve will be defined. So it has been classified to leptokurtic, mesokurtic, and platykurtic. So leptokurtic are heavy-tailed distribution. It is more than, the kurtosis has more than normal distribution value. Mesokurtic is same as normal distribution, and platykurtic is less than normal distribution. If you look at this picture, then you will be clearly come to know what the kurtosis defines. So here platykurtic, mesokurtic, leptokurtic. All this defines the peak of a curve. How tall the curve. Skewness is used to define the length of the tail. So kurtosis deals with the peakness, and then skewness deals with the length. So either it is right skewed or left skewed or no skewed. So if your data follows the condition of the equal mean, median, mode, and then the normal mesokurtic, and then no skew, then you can easily determine your data as a normally distributed data. So these are the basic difference between skewness and kurtosis. As I said, it indicates skewness indicates
exactly.
So it indicates
you can pay.
Sorry about that, Terence. Please continue.
It indicates the shape and size of variation on either side of the central value. As I said, it deals with the tail. whereas kurtosis indicates the frequencies of distribution. And then the second point is the measured difference of skewness tells us about the magnitude and direction of the asymmetry of a distribution, whereas kurtosis indicates the concentration of items in the central part of a distribution. And then skewness indicates how far the distribution differs from the normal distribution. And then kurtosis studies the divergence of the given distribution from the normal distribution. The measure of skewness studies the extent to which deviation clusters is above or below the average, and it indicates the concentration of items. Again, skewness is an asymmetrical distribution. The deviation below or above an average is not equal, and in kurtosis, no such distribution takes place. So, if anyone knows, like we used to follow a variance of 1 sigma, 2 sigma, 3 sigma. So that 1 sigma, 2 sigma, 3 sigma is based on this skewness and kurtosis. So this is what the property of normal distribution. It is a bell-shaped curve, and these are this is distribution function f of x comma mu comma sigma is equal to 1 by sigma root 2 by sigma square and 2 power minus 2 minus 1 by 2 x minus mu by sigma whole square is the probability distribution function of a normal distribution. So the properties of normal distribution are, the major property is that your mean median mode should be equal. That is the important parameter of important property of a normal distribution. So here you can see that the normal curve is bell shaped. The range of normal curve is minus infinity to plus infinity. Mean, mode and median of normal distribution are equal. The curve is normal, that is skewness equal to 0 and kurtosis is equal to 3. If your data has all this property, then we can confirm that our data is normally distributed data. So this is 3 sigma limit. So mu minus 3 sigma, mu minus 2 sigma, mu minus sigma. These are the level of 1 sigma, 2 sigma, 3 sigma. So based on this, we will be having the values such as the level of confidence or the values which we estimate from using several statistical tests. So these are depending on these sigma levels. So these are, as I said, population and sample, right? So since it is the statistics subject, which is the application of mathematics, we will be having certain derivations. To define this, we need to use these notations to our data set, like summation. A capital letter deals with, that is a small letter deals with a sample data, and then Greek letter will be deals with a population to represent the population. And other things are which we have already seen in many subjects like physics, chemistry, all those things we will be seeing these notations. So in general, to know the population, for example, capital N is V for population size and small n will be for sample size. And then for standard deviation, you will be having small s for standard deviation of sample, and then sigma for population. And for variance, you will be having s square for sample and then sigma square for population, or for range, that is just to determine a range. So till now we have seen a descriptive statistics. These are the things which everyone have to follow just to describe your data, how your data behaves or how your data looks. So here you don't have any scientific value to make a decision about your research. So to make a decision or to make a scientific report, you need a statistical support, right? To get that, we need to learn or we need to know about inferential statistics. What is inferential statistics? Why we are going for inferential statistics? What is hypothesis? Why we are framing the hypothesis? What are the rules for hypothesis? So what are the rules to collect a data? How the sampling technique should be implemented? Or how we have to choose a sample? These are the various questions which we will be running in our mind when we proceed to inferential statistics. In general, we are in our research, we are not in the position to cover all the population or to cover the population. So it is not possible to collect population. So we will be going for sampling. So with the help of online calculator and with the help of some standard statistical formulae, we will be calculating the sample size. Once the sample size is derived, then we will be applying a technique on what basis we are going to collect those samples. Whether it is based on a probability based sampling or non-probability based sampling. Why we are proceeding with probability based? What are the advantages of probability based? Or why we are going for non-probability? What are the advantages and disadvantages of non-probability sample? So these are the things which we need to follow. Once we are very clear with this statistical procedure from the beginning, from the secondary data sources and from the primary data sources, and then data collection, and then data pre-processing, and then data analysis, finally interpreting. When you are clear with all these steps, even if you are getting a non-significant value, you can bravely display your results. Though you have followed all the procedures correctly, but you are not getting a significant result. It is not mandatory, it is not necessary that every data analysis or every result should be significant. So in some cases, the theoretical results will differ from the statistical results. So if you are performing all these things correctly, then you need not to worry about the final result. So it won't affect the overall results. So now we will be seeing the inferential statistics. Is it visible, right?
Yeah, it is visible, sir.
Yes. So you just forget about these types of graphs and charts. We will directly get into sampling techniques, determination of sample size, estimation, testing of hypothesis. And then in third part, we will be seeing the statistical test. Okay. So now, sampling methods. So there are two types of sampling techniques. One is probability sampling, and then the second one is non-probability sampling. So in probability sampling, we will be having simple random sampling, systematic sampling, stratified sampling, and then cluster sampling or multi-stage sampling. In non-probability sampling, we will be having a quota sampling, judgment sampling, and convenience sampling. Now, what is systematic? That is, what is simple random sampling? The probability of being selected is known and equal for all members of the population. So this will be calculated by using blind draw method and then random number method. You can search the random number table in Google, and then you will be finding a table. So based on the table, we will be giving an opportunity for each and every subjects included in our study. So based on that, you will be taking a sample. That is simple random sampling. You will be giving an equal opportunity for all the members of the population. And then second one is, the one more thing is, in simple random sampling, the nature of the sample or the nature of the population is homogeneous. They will not differ. All the particles have the same behavior. So now the second one is systematic random sampling. Here, as it, we will be having some n number of sample size. We will be fixing some n number of sample sizes. Based on the heterogeneity, we will be giving, or we will be separate the groups. We will be finding the strata. So we will be defining the number of groups, and then from that number you will be taking a sample. If you look at this example, the total sample, the population size is 64, capital N, and then small n is 8. So I am assigning 8 groups for, I will be assigning 8 samples for one group. So therefore I will be having 8 groups. So from that 8 group, I will be taking one sample. So totally I will be taking 8 samples. So this is how the systematic random sampling technique looks. And then stratified. There, strata will be differed. Here, that is, strata will be homogeneous. Here, entire population is heterogeneous in nature. So based on homogeneity within that heterogeneous, you will be taking different groups. So once the group has been created, again you will be following the same systematic random sampling technique to pick samples from the population. If you look at this example, divide, they are all patients. Divide the patients into inpatient group and then outpatient group. So from inpatient and then from outpatient, you will be taking a sample. That is, if you look at this left hand side, divide population into subgroups, mutually exclusive and exhaustive. At least one common characteristic of interest. So based on the homogeneous character, you will be splitting into different groups. Use either simple random sample or systematic random sample to individuals from each strata. By using these two techniques, you will be taking a sample from inpatient and then outpatient. Finally, the results are combined to get a picture of total population. This is the background of stratified sampling. And these are the some mathematical calculations. So we not doing. So 2. Now this is a very important thing. So developing a sample plan, 6 steps. So define the relevant population, fix the population of your study, and then get a background knowledge about the population, and then define the sample method. That is, calculate the sample size and fix the sample method. Finally, draw the sample, assess the sample, and resample if necessary. Now, how to calculate the sample size? The thing is, how many completed questionnaires do we need to have a representative sample? Generally, the larger the better, but that takes more time and money. Answer depends on how different or dispersed the population is, the desired level of confidence, and then desired degree of accuracy. So this is one of the basic formulae which is used to calculate the sample size. Here T is the margin of error, and then P is the expected prevalence value, and then Q is expected non-prevalence value, and D is level of precision, or I can say it as a effect size. So whenever you are doing a study, you will be having a parenthetical base study. For example, I am going to study about the diabetic population of a country. So already the governments or some other researchers would have studied about the diabetic, and they have, in some cases, they would have defined the sample characteristic, what they have used in this study. For example, if you are taking any government report, let me consider COVID cases. The World Health Organization has already reported that the death of this COVID is from 10% to 15%. So if I am studying anything related to death of COVID, I can use this prevalence value mentioned by the World Health Organization. So based on the prevalence value what the government results are generated, with the help of the overall population size, I can directly calculate the sample size for our study with the help of this formula. So in many cases, the researchers will not allow us to know about the sampling characteristic. So once you know the characteristic of sample used in the research, then only we can easily identify the prevalence of the study. For example, if you want to calculate the sample from the previous studies, you need to know about the mean standard deviation of the previous study. That is, previous sample mean and standard deviation. 99% of study will not reveal the sample characteristic. That is, we need to calculate effect size D. Once we calculate the effect size, we can easily derive the sample size. Due to a failing of collecting that mean and standard deviation, we are not possible to calculate the effect size. So therefore, we will be assigning the value as 0.5. D is equal to 0.5 as a default value. By using this D equal to 0.5, by using G-Power software as online software, we will be calculating based on the nature of study. Your study may be a cross-sectional study, or it may be a comparative study, or it may be a retrospective study, or it may be some observational study. So based on all these things, you will be deciding which test should be used to calculate the sample size. So this is the procedure for calculating the sample size. So now, as I said, we are not dealing with population, we will be dealing with the sample. So once you are going for sampling, you need to prove, that is, you need to make a decision that is based upon the inference what you are making. For example, previously I said that considering the average height of the student, and then that is average height of the student taken from the sample, and then average height of the overall population. So my inference will be the sample size which the average height which I have calculated from the sample will be greater than the population, or it will be less than the population, or it is equal to the population. So these are the types of hypotheses which we can make from the previous example. So that is, the hypothesis is a statement which the researcher tend to reject, or which the researcher tend to prove is worth in the question. So that is hypothesis. To test the hypothesis, you will be dealing with the subject called inferential statistics or inferential analysis. Inferential analysis is used to generalize the result obtained from a probability sampling technique back to the population from which the sample was done. That is, you will be correlating the sample and population. So with the help of this, we will connect the sample and the population. Now, the first thing, as I said, if you are going for sample, you will be having some n number of variables. Let me consider as demographic variables such as age, gender, educational qualification, and the type of residence, and then your main parameter which is related to your research topic. Okay, so you will be having set of variables for your study. These are collected with the help of sample. The same will be applied for population. So now, the first condition is the collected data should follow the normal distribution. So you will be assessing all these things. The data will undergo the test of normality. So by looking at, like, by the help of descriptive statistics or with the help of graph, we can identify whether the data is normally distributed or not. But still, we need the level of significance. We need p-value. We need a probability level, whether the data is really normally distributed or not. So to confirm this, we will be running two tests. One is Stafford-Wilks test, and the second thing is Kolmogorov-Smirnov test. These two statistical tests are used to find the normality of your data. So first step, once the sample is collected, you will be applying these two tests for checking the normality. If suppose your data is normally distributed, then our thing is whether the sample performed well or not, whether the sample performed better than population or not. So to compare two groups, we will be using T family test. If your data has more than two groups, you will be performing F family test. So that is, if your data is normally distributed, you will be using T test, ANOVA, that is, it may be a one sample T test, or it may be a paired sample T test, or it may be independent sample T test, or it may be a one-way ANOVA, it may be a two-way ANOVA, anything. These tests are considered to be a parametric test. The word parametric is your data is following certain assumption. That is, particularly if your data follows normal distribution, then you will be applying parametric tests to make an inference about the sample and population. If suppose your data doesn't follow a normal distribution, then you will be using non-parametric test. So non-parametric test, in the sense, it doesn't have any assumption. You will be having an equivalent parametric t-test. That is, if you are using parametric t-test, here you will be using man-Whitney t-test. It is equivalent to parametric t-test. And then if you are using ANOVA, here you will be using Driscoll lawrence. So by using these things, we will be making an inference about the sample and the population. So this is a small conceptual work of the inference. From the population, you will be collecting sample, and then by using the appropriate tools, you will be making an inference on the population from the sample. So that's why we should be very careful that the sample which we are collecting should possess the characteristic of a population. If not, you will not get the expected result. So here inferential statistics will be classified into two types. One is estimation theory and then hypothesis testing. So estimation is estimating the weight, that is estimating the value from the sample. And then once the value is estimated, we will be testing that estimated value of sample with the population. So that part is hypothesis testing. So these are the two things which we will be dealing in inferential statistics. So to frame an hypothesis, we need to follow these steps. First, you should have a knowledge about your data, and then we need to assess the assumptions of the data, and we need to frame null and alternate hypothesis. Once the hypothesis is framed, we need to frame proper test. As I said, if the data is not normal, you should not use parametric test. At that place, you need to use non-parametric test. And then if it is normal, you should go with parametric test. So once the proper test statistic is used, then you will be determining the distribution of it, and then you will be getting a value. Finally, you will be making a proper conclusion about the sample. So this is the hypothesis is nothing but it's a statement. It is an assumption about the population parameter. So in short, we can look at this hypothesis testing process. So the population, first figure is population, and then I am taking a sample. From population, I found that the mean age as 50, and then from sample, I found my mean value as 20. So my hypothesis will be the population age is equal to sample age, or the population age is not equal to sample age. This is my hypothesis. So based on the calculation, by using a statistical test, we will make a decision that we are rejecting our null hypothesis because the population age is not same as sample age. The population age is 50 and then sample age is 20. So we will be rejecting our hypothesis. So while making decision hypothesis, we will be committing two types of error. One is type 1 error and then type 2 error, or I can say alpha error and beta error. So if I hope you can understand this table. So first is status of the patient, treatment, not operated, operated, not affected, affected. You will be seeing correct, correct, error, error. And then in hypothesis test, you will be having confidence 1 minus alpha, type 2 error, type 1 error, power. The sense. So if you look at the left hand side, not affected and not operated, it is correct. So he is not affected, so they didn't operate him. It is a correct thing. And then if you look at the second, he is affected, but he is not operated. It is a mistake, right? He should be operated, but he is under the category of not operated. And in third case, he is not affected, but he is operated. Again, it is a mistake. And in fourth case, he is affected and he is operated. So you will be having two types of error. One is rejecting H0 when it is true. If you look at the right hand side hypothesis test, rejecting the H0 when it is true, then it is type 1 error. Accepting the false is said to be a type 2 error. So these are the two types of common error which we used to make. So that's why it is not possible to control two types of error in our study. So therefore, we will be fixing one error as constant and then we try to minimize another error. That's why in the beginning of the study, we used to fix the alpha is equal to 5%, or alpha is equal to 1%, or alpha equal to 10%. That is 95, 90, 99. So that's why we are making a thing that we are fixing type 1 error as constant and we try to reduce the type 2 error. So based upon the field, the importance of error differs. If it is some medicinal study, then even I can say based upon the researcher, the type of error, the importance given to the type of error differs. So this is what we will make. These are the error which we make in a decision, that is reject true null hypothesis as serious consequences. Probability of type 1 error is alpha. Is also the level of significance, that is 95%, 90%, 99%. And type 2 error is do not reject false null hypothesis. That is probability of type 2 error is beta. So the opposite to type 2 error is exact, that is power 1 minus beta. So these are the level of significance. And these are general procedure. So now, I will come to the final slide. Parameter.
May I suggest that at this point, we come back to the participants to make sure that they're following and see if they have any questions on what you have said before.
So since we have very less time, I need to rush up these things. So that's why I'm going fast.
Yes. I totally understand that. Can we hear from the participants whether so far you have any questions on what Mr. Rahosa has lectured? Okay, in the absence of any, sir, please proceed and try to round up in 2 minutes. So, thank you.
Yeah, yes, fine. So I said, right, based on the normality assumption, we will be determining the type of test which we need to use for our data. So this is parametric tests which are based on assumption about the distribution of population from the sample was taken, and the non-parametric tests are not based on assumption. So if it is normally distributed, the parametric test can be used. If it is not normally distributed, then several non-parametric approaches can be used. So how, based on the type of data, how the test can be defined. So in parametric, if it is parametric, your data should be continuous. That is, it may be interval or ratio scale. If it is non-parametric, mostly it will be a categorical data. Like you can clearly understand from this picture. If it is nominal data or if it is categorical data, you can have gender, marital status, and opinions like strongly agree, neutral, disagree, strongly disagree. So these are the patterns comes under categorical data. And in terms of parametric, you will be having the age of the person, the blood sugar level, height, weight. These are the continuous data. So first, you will be applying that normality test for this data. If it is normal, you will be having parametric test, and if it is not normal, you will be having non-parametric test. So these are the types of tests, most commonly used test, which we will be using in our data analysis. So if it is parametric, you will be having one sample t-test. The proper replacement of this parametric is one sample Wilcox, which comes under non-parametric test. Likewise, two sample test, you will be using man-Whitney here. And for one-way ANOVA in parametric, you will be using Kruskal-Wallis or Moores-Median test for non-parametric, and Pearson correlation for continuous scale, and then Spearman correlation for non-parametric scale. So there is a book named 100 Statistical Tests. In that book, you will be having 100 statistical tests with its assumption and the uses and the advantage and disadvantages of each and every test which they have followed in that. The book name is 100 Statistical Tests. If possible, I will try to share this book, Mr. Kosi, regarding this. Okay.
Yes.
So this is these are the things which if you are using two sample t-test, the data should follow these things, these basic assumptions to use t-test. That's what this table suggests. So there are many things to discuss, but due to the time, it is not possible for me to share all those things. It's just a glimpse.
We're going to have more sessions where we're going to go more into elaborate statistical analysis.
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
So in future, we try to we will take small steps. Like first, we will concentrate on the data cleaning procedure. We will take a class on data cleaning first, and then we will move to data pre-processing, and then we move to one part of analysis. So if we go like that, for me, what to say, it will be satisfied that each and every step we have given each and every step, and you can easily try to follow those things. So now it looks like that I have just said few things here and there. It won't connect much. If you are new to this, definitely you won't understand about this. So that's the thing. So in future, we try to communicate soon regarding this.
We'll try to take it one topic for each workshop, and we'll treat it in depth. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. And I think it's been a wonderful time. I personally enjoyed your presentation because at this moment I'm at the stage where I'll be needing to perform some statistical analysis pretty soon in my work. So I thank you for the presentation, and I ask the participants to please ask any questions if there are any before we proceed. Any questions from the participants? In the absence of any, it's now time for us to let the participants in 30 seconds tell us whatever work they are doing. If you have your research work with you, in 30 seconds, please tell us the title of your work and the stage where you are right now and the biggest challenge you're facing at the moment. Participants, anyone who is currently doing his PhD and would like to share with us his progress, can you please talk to us right now? Okay. You can also drop your messages in the chat box, and we can try to answer them. So, as a rounding up closing remarks, I thank everyone for attending this workshop. Remember that this workshop is held monthly, and so whatever topics are not treated in this particular edition will be addressed in the coming one. So Architect Ikenna has dropped in the chat box that he is working on documentation and classification of traditional building finishes. Mr. Ikenna, that's a good topic. Can you tell us what stage you are at right now and whether you're facing any challenges at the moment? Okay, he has also said that he is currently in the field work, the data collection stage. Okay. Are there any specific challenges that you'd like to ask from the professors? Okay, while we are waiting for you to tell us about that, I want to round up this workshop by summarizing what we have touched upon and then telling us what to expect in the coming editions. So for this particular August 2022 edition, we have been able to touch on topics like how to choose your research a good research topic, what and all to consider, how to do your, about the research and publication ethics, what are ethical and what are unethical as far as research is concerned. We've also talked about research opportunities after your PhD, what to expect after you complete your PhD. We had an elaborate speech by Dr. Gita Ma'am where she spoke regarding the prospects after completing the PhD. She elaborated on the wide range of exciting opportunities that are available for research scholars. Dr. Neha Bansal also made her insightful presentation on the broad topic of how to choose a good PhD topic. She mentioned the possible areas where one could pick a topic from, specifically in architecture domain, citing ample examples from her own personal journey. Dr. Sankamurthy shared with us a presentation in the area of research and publication ethics. He highlighted on the reference management softwares mainly, and as well as the plagiarism testing softwares. So Mr. Rahul had also given us an elaborate presentation regarding statistical analysis. So if you're at that stage in your work where you are collecting your your data at field, you already know that you will be needing some statistical analysis once you're done. So I'm looking at the chat box now, and Mr. Kenna has said that he is specifically collecting data regarding Igbo building finishes. Igbo is a native place. It's a native language of the people of the Igbo people. So your challenge is that these material finishes seem to be no longer in existence. And your title is Documentation and Classification of Traditional Building Finishes. So, ma'am, can you please say a word on the challenge which he has mentioned that he is facing?
Now, what I understand from the question is that he is planning to revive the material, what has been used by that particular community. Is that what the question is about? He had earlier told me that his mic is not good, so I'm speaking on his behalf, what I think.
Yeah,
what I could understand is he's trying to document those buildings.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
which has used that particular materials, which is very specific to that community, and the techniques involved, right?
Yes. Yes,
so that would be the study part of it. For data collection, that is fine. After that, what he is intending to do is the question.
Yes.
So data collection with reference to that, he wants to focus on the materials and techniques which is not in use today, right?
No, he wants to document whatever has ever been used at all in that community. He wants to have like maybe a 10-year or 20-year document volume saying this and all is the materials which these people have been using. I think
so which means he will document, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's documentation. That's it.
Yes, ma'am. Documentation.
So documentation alone cannot become research.
Okay.
He has to carry forward the documentation. After documenting, he has to analyze with reference to some components, some criteria, and then he has to conclude the result which can be taken forward.
Okay, ma'am.
So he has to come up with his findings. Documentation alone will not help. Just because nobody has documented doesn't mean it is research.
Okay, ma'am.
So he is doing documentation of existing buildings or whatever that is there. Sure. He is going to probe into that particular data and come up with the documentation, right? That is fine. As data collection, that is acceptable. But after that, he has to, his guide has to tell him of how to go about it. After collecting the data, what he wants to do.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. I'm sure he's hearing you, only that he cannot speak due to his mic problem, but he will...
He can always mail us, we will be able to help him out.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And one more question which had been noted is regarding the relevance of statistics in research. Can I do my PhD research without statistical analysis?
You can.
And also, how do I get help with my statistical analysis if I'm not an expert in statistics? And also, how do I know if my statistician is using the right statistical tool or not?
Yeah, that's a valid question, because you can do a research without statistical analysis also, but it depends on the type of research. Okay. See, actually speaking, when your research is measurable, quantitative, it is easier to take the degree, because you will do some analysis, you will come up with calculations and then justify your result. That is acceptable. That is the reason why most of the research has a statistical component to justify your result. Okay, that is the way of how you get the result. For that, if you're going to tell that you do not have any knowledge in statistics, it will be difficult. See, even I was not very strong in statistics, because in the higher secondary, we had statistics as part of mathematics. After that, we are not exposed to mathematics, especially architects. So what I had done was, for my coursework, I took up a statistical subject, statistical methods and queuing theory, which was offered by the civil department at PG degree level, postgraduate degree level. So you should also take up such courseworks and understand the fundamentals of statistics. Just because you're learning that subject, you will not be immediately do all the calculations. That's difficult. But your understanding is required to understand how you can make use of those statistical tools in your research. So you should be able to tell the person you're going to take help. Say, for example, if you're going to take help of Rahul Gandhi himself, you must be able to explain what is it you want, and they will do it for you. You get it right? But,
yes, ma'am.
But the deciding authority should be you, for which you need to understand the basics of statistics. Say, for example, I want to find out the relationship between two variables in my research. So I will tell him, use the correlation coefficient to check the suitability in terms of a relationship between the two variables. If it is one, maximum, best, it's perfectly matching. It's perfectly, it has a 100% relationship. The relationship between the two variables is 100% if I get the value of 1. If it is 0, I cannot match those two parameters. So I should know of how to make use of the statistical tools and then take the help of the statisticians. They probably use SPSS or R programming or whatever be it.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You may not know the tool, but fundamentals of statistics is required to make them understand what exactly you want.
Yes, yes.
But statistics, if you want to do without that, you can. But if you do with that, it's easy.
Okay,
if you have statistics component, it's easy. It's better.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am, for that answer. And the final question also says, can I choose a topic that has an economic relevance or economic value? Must I choose a topic that has economic relevance, or can I make do with only social or environmental issues?
You can take anything, depending on your field of interest. But whatever you're doing, whether with reference to economics or social or environment, whatever be it, right? The three pillars of sustainability you're talking about. It can be with reference to anything, but it has to be beneficial to the society on the whole.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. And also the other question, which I skipped earlier, says, please, how can I find a reputable journal to publish my articles? And also, how can I reduce plagiarism in my work?
Plagiarism, see, you have to develop the art of writing. You can keep referring n number of sources, but what you understand, you have to write it on your own words. There are online plagiarism checker tools. Free tools are available. So that has a limitation for 1,000 words. When you finish your writing a paragraph, use the tool and check plagiarism then and there. Okay, first come up with the outline of your paper, and then as you are writing, keep checking simultaneously. It's a free tool available.
Okay, ma'am.
Plagiarism checker. Otherwise, licensed one we have in our university, Turnitin.
Okay.
That we use.
Okay. And finally, how can I find a reputable journal to publish my
journals? Yeah, that's a very big task. Whatever your area, you check with your guide, and it's actually difficult because most of the journals are not genuine. We have lots of fake journals coming up with similar names and all that. You have to be really careful. And in institutions will generally have a list of journals which they approve. Say if the requirement says that you have to finish, that you should have publication in SCI or Web of Science or Scopus or whatever be it, they also have a list of journals for various fields, for various departments. You have to check with them because the soft copy will be available in the website generally, and you have to check search by keywords and filter whatever suitable journals, and then see, because open journals charge a lot. All these aspects, actually journal publication will take a longer time.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Check on that.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much, ma'am. And thank you all participants for your contribution to this August edition of the CGRC Research Workshop. At this juncture, I want to conclude this edition by saying that whatever PhD assistance you need, we are going to devise a means to make sure that this form of interactive forum continues. And also, I want to use this opportunity to inform those of you who may be interested in pursuing your PhD outside the shores of your local community. There are some scholarships available in SRM Institute of Science and Technology for PhD fellowships. So if you're interested, you can email me after this workshop and I'll tell you how to avail yourself of those scholarships. If you're already pursuing your PhD in your own institution, if you require the assistance of a guide or a supervisor from this side, we can also help you arrange that. If your institution allows a co-guide or allows you to have a guide from another institution, we can arrange that as well. Depending upon the research interest you have, I can help you to speak with people who professors in that area, and we can do the paperwork. So having said that, we have come to the end of this edition, and the workshop was recorded, and each participant will be receiving the recording once it has finished processing, and also you'll be receiving your certificate of participation. Thank you very much and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.